All right, Wolfpack Nation, thank you so much for tuning back in. As we said, make sure if you haven't checked out part one of our interview here with Stephon Lewis, make sure to click right up here and go check that out first. But again, today we're going to be talking about more of NC State football this season and kind of talking about expectations and just kind of get some insight here. So first of all, again, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps support us and the channel. Please make sure to like this video, check out all of our other NC State content, and also to make sure to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram if you haven't already. So, Steph, man, I know that you've stayed in pretty close contact with some of the guys that were around when you were still there, like Thayer and Mecca. I'm sure maybe you may still stay in touch with CJ and some others. So, what's the overall kind of feeling right now, from the guys? Like, how are they feeling heading into this season?
I know for the receivers, they were really like I talked to Thayer, and we'll talk, and he'll send me some stuff from camp. He was really excited about Devin being back, and I mean, for me, I was excited to see him back just because he had that big injury, and he was playing well before it happened. But really, all the guys were very excited to just have everyone back. Really, they have pretty much their whole O-line back. The two stud running backs are back, and then they have their whole room back. It's just a different coach, but I feel like those guys are older now, so they already have the fundamentals instilled in them. So it wasn't really a big transition. But like I said, they were just excited and ready to get on the field and just show what they had.
Mm-hmm. Well, and because first of all, did you mean that Devin came back or CJ came back? Because I don't know.
Devin Leary. Devin Leary.
Oh, Devin Leary. Oh, okay.
The same guy.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking Devin Carter. I was like,
No. I'm saying Devin Leary with Devin Leary.
Leary.
My bad.
Yeah.
I forgot it's Devin Carter and so many Devins.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that definitely one of the biggest things I think can easily be said about this wide receiver room is how deep it is. I mean, there's so many options in the wide receiver room. It's unreal. But one of the ones I actually talked about that I really see is kind of finally having his breakout year, which is long overdue. Because, I mean, just like you that really had to battle through injuries, CJ Riley, he's a guy that's battled through, so many injuries. But, I mean, he's like 6'3", 6'4". He's, runs a 4.3, 4.4 40. He's ridiculously fast, ridiculously long. It's just like, I mean, he has the, like, if a coach could build a wide receiver, I feel like it would be like him, tall and fast. And so, I really kind of want to get your input because I know that he was there while you were there. So, I mean, can you kind of touch on, I mean, the potential of this guy really, and I mean, how, again, I mean, people aren't really talking about him. And I mean, I know he didn't really do much with the USF game, but I truly do think he can be a guy that everybody's talking about in Mecca and Thayer. Better watch out for CJ as well. Cause I mean, he can make plays this year. I really do see that for him this season.
I agree. CJ is one of those guys from the point that he got there. He was like a freak athlete. And he's from the South Florida area as well. I never heard of him, but when I seen him run routes the first day, I was like, wow, like really about to be stacked because him, Kelvin, and Deshaun Stevens came in together, and I'm like, these some good players. Unfortunately, CJ got hurt before he could even show anything his freshman year. But, he showed flashes when he did come back, but it's just one of those things where he's been battling injuries. And I agree. I think this is going to be the year that he really breaks out. They didn't really get to show too much against USF, but, it's the first game. Devin Leary just got back, so it's like, you don't want to let him go loose yet. But I do feel like as the season goes on, we're going to see a lot of CJ. I truly believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, is there, because between obviously the studs being, like Thayer, Mecca, and CJ, or I guess the guys who are the most experienced guys, but like between Keon the same, Devin Carter, some of the other guys, is there one that kind of stands out to you that maybe you see a lot of potential in, or maybe is a little bit not really talked about much right now, but will be by the end of the season?
I think Devin Carter, because Devin Carter is one of those guys. He came in like physically mature and very fast. He's a very smart kid. I mean, he made a lot of plays last season, so I think he's really slept on. But he's one of those guys who, if you put the ball in the air, he's going to catch it. And then he's also one of those guys, you could give him a slant, he might take it all the way. He's a fast guy, big guy, strong, very, very strong guy. Like he was lifting with me and Kelvin his freshman year. So very, very strong guy. He's in really good shape and he runs very good routes. So I think he's one of those guys he slept on, but when he gets that opportunity, he's gonna make the best of it.
Yeah, and I think I agree. I think that's what Devin Carter's. That's where his advantage is his size. He's huge for a wide receiver. Now I know
Very
CJ
big.
is more long and fast, but Devin is big for a receiver. Like he's not like, and it's just built, and he can
Very
impose his
big.
will on guys. You know, if he really wanted to, and he's. I mean, I agree with that. Kind of what you think your thoughts are about Devin Carter. But another guy I'm curious about what you think about, because we didn't see him a lot either at this game, is well, a couple guys, or I'll start with this one, is Porter Rooks, because we didn't really see him much either. And he was like the wide receiver 4 last season as a true freshman.
Right. See, Porter, he's one of those guys that I didn't get to see when I was there.
Sure.
They were recruiting him. But like I said, I speak to Coach McDonald often, and he was very high on him. Just his route running ability. He's very mobile. What I've seen from him last year, he showed signs of, he's going to be a star. It's just a matter of time and a matter of opportunity. One of the things is when you're a young player and you're in a room that's so loaded, it's hard for you to really show it. You got guys like Thayer paid his dues, man. The Mecca paid his dues. So guys like that, they're going to shine. You know what I mean? So they're going to shine. They're going to have their time. And you have to think about it. Those were the guys who were behind Jacoby, Kelvin, me. But now you see it. They're on the big stage. I don't know if Porter's going to be the one. I don't know if this is going to be his breakout year, but, I do feel like he's going to make a lot of plays. And then when his time comes, he's going to be a star.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't really want like freshmen being the go-to guys, because you want those guys to develop like you're talking about. You want them to be like, if you're depending on like all freshmen, something's wrong. Something's wrong. So it's like you need those guys like a Mecca and Thayer and Devin Carter to really, be the guys and give Rooks and give another guy I was going to talk about is Julian Gray, like this true freshman receiver who when they were doing interviews like fall camp on players that have stood out, whether it was offense or defense, almost every single one, even the coaches were taught, Julian Gray's name came up, and he's just explosive. You kind of saw it at the spring game. You need those guys to learn and grow and honestly get in the weight room a little bit too, just to get their bodies ready for college football. But the ability is there. And I don't know. Like I said, it may not be this year. I don't think it will be necessarily, but they're the future, and they've looked the part for what the opportunities they've been given already. They've already proven they can handle it.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. One thing about Coach Dorn is hey, listen, he has a great mind and he understands developing athletes. It shows with the guys who are going to the NFL. It shows with the guys who are stars later on in their career. He knows how to develop them, and he's not one of those guys who's gonna. When you get there, you're gonna show that you have the ability to play. You're gonna show. It doesn't matter if you're a 5-star, 4-star, whatever it is. You might be behind a walk-on, but as long as you build, and you continue to be the best that you could be, you're gonna show what you have. Everyone's gonna see it eventually. But he's not gonna just throw somebody in there just based off of who they are.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: you mentioned, in our previous interview, that you had seen, oh man, I saw the fans at Carter Finley. I haven't been in a while, like you mentioned, but I saw the fans. I got to get back, kind of thing.
Oh, gotcha.
So it tells me you watched the first game. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, of course.
Okay.
I'm always watching, man. It's my boys, man.
So,
hey,
I hear you. So what'd you think? What were your thoughts? Takeaways?
Man, I was excited. I'm not even gonna lie, man. Middle of the game, I was texting my boys. I'm texting Pratt, BJ, and Didi are in the group text. So I'm like, "Hey, Didi, man, I love what I'm seeing right now, man. It's impressive, man." And Didi said, "Man, like, yeah, they're flying around." I was very impressed with the defense, honestly. So impressed with the defense. Those linebackers, and you know what, man?
Yeah, name a better linebacking core. Name one.
Man,
they're dominant.
Those linebackers are flying around. The whole defense really was flying around because I loved how the DBs was smacking stuff. Man, I'm watching it. I'm calling everybody in the room like, hey, I got to see this. Because I got family, I got people in my family that went to USF. One of my cousins was an offensive lineman over there, so
really?
I'm talking,
That's
man.
funny.
I'm talking. So it was very fun to see.
That's cool. Yeah,
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
you mentioned defense. I think one thing for me that I was particularly stood out, and as a whole, I think the defense performed better than even what I thought they were going to do. And granted, USF was predicted to finish last in their conference and things in the Atlantic. But I was particularly impressed with the defensive backs, like you were talking about, like you had 2 new guys in Derek Pitts and Cyrus Fagan, and they were pretty dominant. I mean, to go along with Tanner Engel, to go along with Tyler Baker Williams shining back. I mean, I was really impressed.
Yep,
I was very impressed. They played well, and I was talking to Sean Boone as well. I'm like, hey man, we've had some good DBs, but I haven't seen that type of aggression in a long time. With all of them being willing to come up and hit, and all of them ball hawking. That's what you want to see, especially when you have. And it's one thing about NC State in the past has been like the focus has been on like that D line. There's always been a very good D lineman or a group of D linemen, and it's always been like the secondary has been like who's been talked about as the weakness because there's always been solid linebackers as well. But this year, just off the first game, and the season it's a long season, but off the first game, I was very excited to see those DBs stepping up to the plate because in the media that's what they're always talking about, the DBs. And it's just exciting to see that, just to know that this might be the most complete defense that I've seen in a while. So,
well, and because I definitely, and for those who are listening in, first of all, I want to say that I have been nodding my head ridiculously while making this stuff and been talking here because I could not agree more. But I've said this multiple times. I truly do think this is Dorn's best defense he's had altogether, which is a bold statement because obviously one year we had literally 4 defensive linemen that got drafted within the first 4 or 5 rounds in the NFL draft. But I mean, again, just like literally because a lot of specifically UNC fans, but anybody who really doubted the USF game, one of the biggest things they say is, well, it's just USF, it's just USF. But I mean, the biggest thing which I would point back out to them is that really when I watched the offense per se, I didn't see really anything crazy. I feel like that we didn't really, open it up. I felt like it was all really just basic, just go-to plays, nothing ridiculous, just keeping that playbook closed, and we'll open it up this week against Mississippi State. But even on the defensive side, like Corey Durden, who is our transfer from Florida State, that making, maybe we should trademark it. We'll call him the 6-star defensive tackle transfer from Florida State. He didn't even play either, which I mean, I think he's going to be a game changer in the middle. So, I mean, again, there's no doubt. I mean, we did a prediction episode, Steph, which I mean, I don't know if you've seen or not, but basically both Macon and I had us at 9-3 conservatively, or in between. But I mean, after seeing the ACC this year or week 1, which again, I mean, it's just week 1. It's not the entire season. It's just 1 week. Yeah. But I mean, I truly feel like the bar needs to be at this point to get State's second 10-win season in program history.
It's achievable. This team could do it.
It's so
One
achievable.
thing I feel like State has right now on their side is experience and camaraderie. These guys have been with each other for a very long time. All of them, because I remember there was, even when Emeka and Thayer weren't like those guys who were running routes with Finley, they were running routes with Devin Leary. So they have a good connection, and that's going to show later on throughout the season. That offensive line, they've been together for a while. Though they're young, they've been together for a while. Yeah. And they've been going through this time together. So tough times make you love each other a little bit more. So those guys are out
Yeah.
there playing for each other. I don't know if you got one of the things that I really watch when I'm watching the games to see how much great teammates there are. How much do the guys celebrate each other's plays? And one of the things that I've seen with that entire defense, whether it be the D line, the linebackers, or the DBs, they were celebrating together. There was plays where Drake was making, but the first person you see is Isaiah Moore. And there was plays where Peyton was making the first two guys you see are those other linebackers with the other D linemen coming up. There's plays where the receivers are making, the running backs are coming up. I don't know if you guys seen the blocking on the edges with the Mecca. He's blocking hard when Ricky's running the ball.
Yeah, did you see that block Jordan Houston put on that one receiver in the fourth quarter, man?
Listen,
he
man,
laid him out. I was like, look at Jordan Houston, man. Not a receiver, but a running back in the fourth quarter. You're on a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing for each other. That's the best thing about it. You know, a lot of the teams in the ACC right now, whether it be Carolina or Clemson, they're new. You got Clemson with a new quarterback. You got Carolina. They're still trying to recover from all their stars going to the league. One thing about NC State is almost everybody came back, and everybody has experience, whether it be the guys who you think are young. Those young guys still played last year, you know, so they have experience. That's the thing that's on their side right now, and I think that's going to be the big difference towards the end of the season. That's when the games get a little bit tougher. When the tough gets going, how much do you love each other? That's what's going to really show, and that's what's really going to put them over the edge, in my opinion.
Yep.
How much having the fans back you think this season is going to impact the team? Obviously, last year, you know, you had no fans or limited fans. Like when you were playing, did you really like use that energy from the crowd, and did it really impact your game?
I'm telling you, I don't know who anybody was on. Hey, Leighton was on the field running up and down. I know he felt the energy.
Yeah, he was the ball boy.
Exactly. Yeah, so I know, man, there's been plays where I've seen Leighton have to hold back excitement. So when you're on the field and you hear the crowd, man, it's a whole different experience than when it because last year I know it had to feel like they were just at practice. So it wasn't that same type of energy. You have to bring your own energy when it's that type of atmosphere. When you're with that crowd, and Wolfpack Nation is listen. We've played at Clemson, we've played at Florida State, we've played everywhere in the ACC. But the crowd behind you, man, and they're cheering for you. There's no other feeling like it. So I know those guys are feeding off of it. And you could tell in the game. You could tell in the game they're feeding off of it because as they're making these plays, the crowd's getting louder. It's fun, man. That's what you play for, man. It's not fun playing with nobody out there. You play for the crowd.
Yeah.
And you play for those fans because you know you make a big play. They're yelling for you.
And to go along with that, you got to think about last season. That was all ACC competition for the most part. I mean, they played one non-conference game, and it was a historic Liberty team with a top 5 QB prospect going into this going into the season. So they got 7 conference wins with no stadium. And you mentioned, imagine playing against the I can't remember all the ACC teams they won, but they won 7 conference games with nobody behind them to support them other than their bench and their parents, I guess. And
for the most part,
they're rolling back into this season with everybody having gone through winning 7 ACC conference games, which I think is way underrated. People aren't thinking about that. And now they're going back into season. Game 1, they just blow USF out of the water. I mean, you're right. I think they're hungry. They get a free year with COVID, so everybody can come back and they don't lose anything. You can tell. I mean, as you being a former player, it's really neat to hear you say that stuff.
Oh yeah, man. I'm loving the energy. I'm like I told you guys. After watching that first game, I had to change up my travel plans. I said, you know what, man? It's been a long time. I got to get back, man. I want to get back for that Clemson game because I already know it's going to be. I'm trying to. I'm trying to send a couple text messages right now just to see, like, hey, man, you got an extra ticket? Like, come on, man. I got to hit I got to call the AD or something. I got to get in contact with somebody out there.
Yeah.
Got to call Smoker Didi. Somebody got to give me something.
They'll sneak you in. Hey, you just say, hey, I rank, ninth in school history, like, in the staff. So that's my ticket.
Sideline pass.
I have to go put my shoulder pads on and act like I'm a player still or something. Get in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Eligibility.
I'm sure you got it. So with the last little bit of time, one thing that I really wanted to kind of discuss is, one of the big things that I feel like, especially this season, because it's really priming up for this. But I really wanted to go ahead and start, kind of honing it in on a lot of, state fans who are listening in or watching, whatever it may be, is really how impressive it has been during changing around this program. And because, really looking back at 2013 when he took over, I was really thinking back about it. I mean, your starting quarterback was between Brandon Mitchell and Pete Thomas. Running back wise, you had Tony Creasy, which was a baller and a young, unproven at time Matt Days. And I mean, just like you look at that team and then you look at what you have now, and it's like it's night and day. It is insane. Like you go from literally basically having a bunch of young, unproven, talent to having studs, pretty much studs, if not great developed talent at every single position. And also too, even just the feel of the program as well. Like you were saying, because obviously everybody wants to be like a Clemson, because everybody asks, why, how is Clemson so good every single year?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because of the maturity of the program, that at the end of the day, just like you were saying, it cannot be a bunch of individuals. It can't even be a couple of individuals. It has to be everybody is playing for each other all the time. Bench players, starters, you name it. And
Sure.
I feel like that's something that you really see now with this team is really the leadership is there. And also too, the fact, I mean, look at last year, they got dog smacked by Virginia Tech. I mean, it would be very, it would have made sense in years past, maybe to, take a little bit, like, like for example, when we lost to Clemson, and it took a little while for us to kind of dig out of that hole back to the win column. But, to fight right back and have the season that we did for rest season, I mean, I feel like for me, it just shows that, again, this program is heading in the right direction. And I mean, for me, if Doran gets 9-10 wins, or if he gets 10 wins this season, I don't see what state fan could really say about him at this point. I mean, yeah, maybe the not having the signature wins or whatever, but I mean, in order to get 10 wins, you have to beat either a Miami, Mississippi State, or Carolina, or so you have to win one of those big games. But Clemson, yeah. But I mean, what else could you really say? So I mean, I guess I just want to hand off to you. I mean, like, just kind of take it off from there. But I mean, because I know you were there, you were one of Doran's first real recruiting classes,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you've been following it ever since. But I mean, can you speak a little bit about that in terms of, I mean, seeing really how the program has matured and changed over the years from when you first came on to even now?
I think the biggest thing is how much, like, the coaches are amazing. And one thing
Mm-hmm.
about football and any sport, you can have amazing coaches, but if you have no buy-in, it's nothing. And one of the things
Mm-hmm.
that you can see from these guys is they're buying in, whether it be with nutrition, whether it be with recovery, whether it be with the weight room, extra work, they're buying in because they trust the coaches at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to trust a coach who has a track record of putting guys in those pros. These
Mm-hmm.
guys, as much as they want to win, they do have this ultimate goal of going to the pros. And
Yep.
it's one of those things that Doran does sell. He tells them, like, hey, look, man, you follow my lead, I'm going to get you there. But while you're here, focus on winning as much games as possible. And that's what it was for us. Nobody was really, obviously, when you come to college, you're like, man, I can't wait to do this for myself and go to the pros. But what he does is he teaches us that, you know what, for you to get to the pros, the guy behind you has to be, if not just as good as you, he better be very good, because you got to have this person pushing you.
Yep.
So his whole
Yeah.
goal is, I want to build up every player. And if the guys buy in, that's what you're seeing right now is a product of guys buying in. When he first got there, they were with Tom O'Brien. And it's hard
Right.
transitioning to a new coach and following his lead and trusting in anything that he has to say. But as mindset, as Doran was able to instill all his principles into these guys, you're seeing it. It's one of those things where these big teams like Clemson and all that, it wasn't overnight success.
No.
It takes time.
And I'm going to go. I want to add another word in there. It's also a belief. Like you
Right,
mentioned with
exactly.
O'Brien, they didn't believe they could probably do that. We just are getting crushed. Like we stuck basically, and now we're going into an idea where we were on the cusp a few years ago of beating Clemson. We were a field goal away.
Exactly.
I know that's and if you go and watch the week one, I realize week one is like a big week when you can overreact on some things. State looks like one of the better teams in the conference. I mean, you could argue they're a top, based on just the eyeball test, they looked the part as like one of the better teams in the conference. And those guys I'm not saying they're going to be number one team. I'm just saying the guys believe they can do it.
Yes, for sure.
And that's my whole point. They believe it.
And it's one of those things where there's teams in the past whose mindset was like, you know what, man, we want to be close to Clemson. I feel like this team's mindset, just talking to the former players, is like, there's no way that Clemson should even be close to us. We're that much better than them. And you know what? You have to have that mindset to go into the game and play hard and make sure that you show that. You can have that belief, but when it's time to go and show it, you better show it. And I feel like that's the difference between them, because I know obviously we've had that belief, but it wasn't everybody. This year, I feel like everybody has that belief that they should be the top team. They should be the ACC champs, in their opinion, just based off of the guys that I speak to. And, you know, the guys that I do speak to, they're the guys who are the leaders on the team, the captains on the team. So, you know, if they have that mindset, that means they're teaching that mindset to everyone else. And that means they're getting that mindset from Coach Doran. So if everybody in the building has the same mindset and has the same goal, I really believe it's going to be one of their best seasons.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, too, with perception. We mentioned that's one thing. When we're recording this is before the Mississippi State game. I think that's a big game in part for perception, because it's like you go on the road and it's like my prediction going into the season was I think they're going to win this game. That's just my thought.
Yeah.
But the moment they can get that, they can win, they can beat, even though Mississippi State's not considered like the greatest SEC team, or the moment they can actually beat Clemson, and it may be this year,
dude.
I mean, you could see the chinks. You could see the chinks in the armor with Clemson playing Georgia. Like, they're not invincible. Now, Georgia is one of the top 5 teams in the country. I get that,
right.
And Georgia is probably going to make anybody look bad, and I totally get that. But my part is, like, they didn't look like the same Clemson. Defense kind of did, but they didn't look like the same Clemson. And the day that State can beat Clemson in the game, it's like kind of like Goliath has fallen a little bit, and it's like there's some blood in the water, and it's maybe are the tides kind of turning here. There's a door cracked open that was once sealed shut, kind of thing.
I love that.
Yeah, I definitely think so, man. And, you know, it was kind of like there's always this point of, you know, you want to get over that hump. And I remember the hump was we wanted to beat Florida State. We got over that hump, and then it was the hump like we want to beat Louisville, and then we beat Louisville, and then you got that hump like you want to go in and you want to be the SEC team. We go in that game, we beat Vanderbilt, and now it's like that hump like you want to get over that hump of like we've been there, like we've been a field goal away, we've been one bad play away, we've been this and that. You know what I'm saying? We've always been prepared for it, but there's always one thing that sets it off. I feel like this year, if those guys go in with the right mindset, they'll get over that hump. And then once you get over that hump, now you're in business to do whatever you want to do, because it's just a mindset of like, you know, like when it's anything in life. There's always that one thing in your life where you're like, man, if I could just do this, I know I could do whatever. If they could just get over that hump, play the best game possible, and I know we're looking ahead, but, you know, you get over that hump of beating this team that everyone doubts that you could beat. There's no one that's going to stop them.
Right. And to me, Doran has Doran has raised the floor for NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is just recruited and coached well. He's not done anything like the big extravagant wins every season has not happened really to this point.
Right.
But the floor that he brought us from O'Brien is like night and day different, like Leighton was saying. To me, it is next breaking that proverbial glass ceiling.
Yes.
Because there's still this thing of, but there's Clemson. Yeah,
right.
But there's when that happens, it's going to be like, whoa, this is going to get real exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree, man. I definitely agree with that.
So, Michael, I'll hand the last question to you, Michael.
So I had I got those two. So just a more of a fun question here. Who is at your time at State? Who was the funniest teammate you played with? Like the one always keeping it light, joking around in the locker room. Yeah.
The funniest teammate. I mean, it's so many of them, but like me, I would say it's two of them because I lived with them. But BJ and Pratt, by far, the funniest guys, man. And they're the same now, and they have their kids now, but they act just like we were in college. So those guys, they always kept it light, never took anything too serious. Oh, Chubb for sure. Never mind, I take that back. It's definitely Chubb. Because a lot of stuff y'all seen Chubb doing in games, it was just like that in practice. And Leighton knows that. Chubb is out there dancing. Chubb is out there doing his thing.
Taking the towel from Deshaun Watson. Yeah.
Stealing towels. It doesn't matter. But, it's a lot of fun guys to play with. But I would say I would have to have a top three, and those would be my three guys. It would be Chubb, BJ, and Pratt.
Yeah, that's a good three. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you all really enjoyed this interview. I think this was definitely, some great insight really into, mindset of this team heading into this hopefully historic 2021 NC State football season. So thank you so much, Steph, for tuning in, and definitely make sure to come back for Raleigh here soon, man. At least maybe once or twice, come say hey to the fans for sure.
Definitely.
One of the all-time great NC State receivers right there, guys.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. As always, go Pack, y'all.